Basketball star Brittney Griner finally getting her day in a Russian court tomorrow. Now, you may remember she was arrested at the airport in Moscow with cannabis vape cartridges in her luggage and since then has been detained. In taking office, Russian President Vladimir Putin promised Russia a dictatorship of the law. Legal watchers and the New York Times suggest there's another kind of dictatorship in Russia and that Griner's saga in Russia is likely to end in a conviction. Retired Marine intelligence officer Hal Kempfer joins us now. Hal, is everything really stacked against Griner here? Is this a losing battle for her and her legal team?
Well, in a word, yes. It's 99% conviction. Basically, back in May, when they were talking about a swap for her with an arms dealer, a Russian arms dealer, Victor Bout, the Russians had kiboshed that shortly afterwards, saying that they wanted to have a court investigation first. This gives the Russians a chance to say, look, we went through our judicial process, we did the full investigation. She's a criminal just like this arms dealer is a criminal, false equivocation. And then they would talk about a swap. So this thing is kind of going down a predictable route, but there is about a 0% chance that she's not going to be convicted of something in that court.
William Pomerantz of the Kennan Institute put it this way: there's no real idea or expectations the defendant could be innocent in a Russian court. There's no presumption of innocence, really. Is that it? Is that really it?
It's a show trial. That's all it is. That is one thing that is left over from the Soviet legacy are these show trials. They bring them in. It's preordained that they're going to be convicted. 99%. I mean, that's for all intents and purposes. That means if you're charged, you're going to be convicted. And then once they convict her, they can put her into prison, and that gives them leverage with the swap. But they have a swap. Victor Bout, as I mentioned, pretty high profile. One of the more famous arms traders or arms dealers. He was called the Merchant of Death. If you recall the movie with Nicolas Cage, Lord of War, he was kind of the character for that movie.
Okay.
So that's who they want to swap.
Hal, I just thought of something, and you can 100% correct me if I'm wrong here, but Russia hasn't been able to play its national anthem on the world stage at the Olympic Games. Is this kind of Vladimir Putin playing sports games at a governmental level that maybe he can get some kind of dominance here?
It's interesting you say that because it is kind of balancing out,
right?
He hasn't been able to do anything on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to countries that he has that are like his version of NATO. Very safe. Tajikistan. He can't go anywhere. He's as a pariah in the international system. The war in Ukraine has not gone the way he intended. Huge setbacks. Of course, they lost Snake Island today. Very prominent symbolic thing. And so this is something that kind of, the fact that we're covering it kind of shifts the news to his narrative. And it is kind of trying to offset all the bad news that Russia is getting everywhere else.
What happens if Brittney Griner is convicted? What's the next move? Does the U.S. government have a next move here?
Well, they do. Bill Richardson was reportedly involved with this early on. Mm-hmm. And I am sure that he is very much engaged, as is the State Department. They have called this a wrongful detainment. They came out early on with that. They didn't even make any pretense that this was anything other than a wrongful detainment. And there's going to be a full-on move. And whereas we don't want to, swap a wrongful, we don't want her to be a hostage, if you will, to free a criminal in U.S. prisons. On the other hand, we don't want her in a Russian prison. A lot of reluctance to do this, but at the end of the day, you might see something like with Trevor Reed, where there's an exchange at an airport and she crosses over, maybe Victor Bout crosses over, and that's how this ends.
That's what my final question was for you, Hal, is that the only way that this goes right now? I mean, I can't think that an American citizen is going to stay in a Russian jail for having cannabis-laced vape cartridges in her luggage.
Well, allegedly having those cartridges.
Thank you for the clarification. You're absolutely right.
And I can tell when the Russians are making stuff up because their lips are moving about half the time. Not to be too rude about it, but they are famous for being disingenuous. I don't know if she's guilty, but I do know that I can't see another way that we're going to get her back unless there's some sort of swap.
All right. Retired Marine Intelligence Officer Hal Kempfer, thank you so much. Pleasant conversation there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.